Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here on this Monday, the 4th of May, 2020. You know what? Looks like the perfect storm might be developing for cryptocurrencies. And what I mean by that is uh, the central banks around the earth now have went into a programs of money creation and supporting the markets that is unprecedented in the history of the world. There's never been anything like this before. And so what they're doing is they are, through monetary stimulus, they are inflating the dollars. But at the same time, when we see the dollar inflating, we see Bitcoin, the leader of the cryptocurrencies, deflating. They're cutting the mining supply of Bitcoin in half. So let's get the charts open right here and take a look at what's going on. First, we'll take a look at cryptocurrency market capitalizations. And as we step in and take a look at these markets today, we're at 246.9 billion. Bitcoin dominance is 65.8%. Let me refresh the page. 247.5 billion. We're looking at a Bitcoin price at 88.82. Litecoin is at 47.22. Ethereum's at 206, Bitcoin Cash 245, Bitcoin SV 207. These are some of your top coins. I'm going to tell you what, guys. Negative interest rates are coming. I'm going to tell you. They asked Warren Buffett, what will these negative interest rates do? They asked him. And he had to tell them. He had to say, well, I don't really know what the outcome's going to be. And I'm the same way. I don't really know what the outcome of negative interest rates are going to be. But I can't see it being good, you know? And people are going to have to actually pay money to the banks for them to keep your money and hold your money. This is an economic system that's turned on its head. Everything is upside down now. As these negative interest rates policies start to come into effect. Now, if we take a look at the interest rates, a 30-year bond right now is only a little bit over 1%. The 10-year is under 1%. It's at around 0.6 or 0.6% right now. It says, in brief, the U.S. Federal Reserve may resort to negative interest rates, says the former president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. In this case, customers will have to pay banks interest on their savings because the banks are going to have to pay the government for their reserves, you know, in this case, and so they're going to pass that on to you, the consumer, who they consider to be an unsecured lender to the bank. So when you make a deposit, they've changed the laws around now. They can do whatever they want with that money that you've just deposited in the bank. It doesn't really belong to you anymore, because in legal terms, you are what's called an unsecured lender to the bank, and that's what your deposits become. And they can do what's called a bail-in of the bank. Now, during the 2008 crisis, they bailed out the banks. But a bail-in is totally different than a bailout. In a bail-in, what they do is the banks give you what's called a haircut. And basically what it amounts to is they take a percentage of your money. They just take it. The first country they tried this in was Cyprus, the banking system in Cyprus. And they started to take money from each and every person's account. And so the people in Cyprus said, no, you can't. They made posters and signs. They held their hand up, no. And so what they did was then they said, well, anything under 10,000 euros, we won't take a percentage. We'll only take the larger accounts. And they took quite a large slash of the money. In other words, quite a large bite out of the large depositors' accounts. once they set this precedent, they can do it in every country now, and it's called a bail-in. And so it's there. In the back of your mind, just remember they can actually quite literally take your money. But now they're going to take little chomps of your money when the negative interest rates come into effect, like maybe 2% per year out of your account. And with this effective policies they have now, they're trying to work toward doing away with cash, too, at the same time. So everything is coming after the small guy. It's like the world now has two loops. Okay, picture if you laid on the ground two hula hoops, right? And you got people to stand inside each hoop. Well, there's the gray hoop. I'll call it the gray hoop that all the people out there are standing in, the vast majority of the people. And why it's gray is because it's gloomy. Because those are the people who aren't receiving the funding. And then there's the orange hoop, where all of the banks and all of the Wall Street guys and everybody else is standing in. And that's an orange loop. And it's bright and cheery because they're getting the money from the Fed. They're getting the money of all this support. $6 trillion that they just created. They're getting fed from that. So what it's creating is creating the haves and the have-nots in our society, And they're coming after your money more and more as time goes by. And this negative interest rates is just part of them not allowing anyone to have any savings. Okay. Bitcoin is coming of age. Bitcoin's coming of age. May's historic halving is taking place in a new era. And this is the way with things. 2009, Bitcoin was created. And all those years, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, people were getting used to this. The idea that this could be worth something. It took them a long time to get their head around it. The idea that a cryptocurrency could actually have value. But, we're getting to the point now, all those years have passed, and we're getting to the point now where it's starting to be accepted as something that actually has value. It says Bitcoin price will hit at least $10,000. Even before the 4-year halving event taking place in 2 weeks, predicts the CEO of one of the world's largest independent financial advisory organizations. The prediction from the chief executive of De Beer Group, Nigel Green, comes as the price of the world's largest cryptocurrency suddenly soared by more than $1,500 on Thursday, moving to its highest value since February. It peaked at $9,400. It comes ahead of May 11th's highly anticipated halving event, occurring every 4 years. Halving means that less and less Bitcoins will be minted. Like right now, I think when this halving occurs, they're going from 12.5 down to like 6.2. That's a big cut. So when you solve a block now, you're only going to get 6 Bitcoins. Do you know how anybody out there who's mined Bitcoin realize how hard it is to solve a block? And how easy it was at one time. There was a time years ago when you could have an old Pentium computer with a 400 mega hard disk, a small little hard disk on it, and a CPU of only that was running at like 400 megahertz, And you remember those old computers that are so slow? And a computer like that could solve a Bitcoin block every 10 seconds. And the Bitcoin blocks, I think they yielded 100, or was it 50 Bitcoins? That's what it was like when they first started back in 2009. Now it takes the computational power it takes now to solve a block is absolutely off the charts. If you were just running a standard computer, like a desktop computer, to try to solve a Bitcoin block, it would take you 100,000 years. Anyway, moving on. open interest in Bitcoin right now. Just a second. There's a tractor going by. Believe it or not, he's carrying manure, I think, and those great big wheels, you know. I live out in the country, and he's probably carrying manure. Anyway, okay, here's what it says: open interest on Bitcoin futures breaks past an all-time high. Now, the thing about the Bitcoin futures is the last time this happened, Bitcoin proceeded to crash afterwards. Don't think it's going to happen this time because the halving event's coming up, but it could have an effect upon the Bitcoin price. We're going to have to keep our eye on that as the open interest on the futures. You know, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a believer in open interest in the futures. You know, I'm going to tell you, this is what they've done to the silver market. You know, the open interest in silver at I think when it was at its all-time high was like 400 to 1. Can you imagine? Now, Bitcoin itself actually acts as an underlying asset. So, in truth, what is a Bitcoin? It's an intangible, something you can't really put your hand on. You can't hold it in your hand. It doesn't even exist in the real world. It exists only in cyberspace. But now they're selling futures on something that only exists in cyberspace. But you know, with the silver market, I think the open interest in the futures. I mean, they took it to some absurd. I think at its high it was like 400 to 1 of the underlying asset. But Bitcoin is an underlying asset, even though it's a digital asset. And this is because it takes work to create it, you know. Anyway, listen, guys, talk long enough. I think that because of all this money printing that's going on right now, that there's going to come a time in the very near future where we're going to start to get over this virus and stuff. And when that time actually comes, then the economy is going to start to improve. And when the economy improves, the Fed's going to continue to print. But the effect of the printing right now is not having a profound effect because the deflation is absorbing it all. But when the deflation's not absorbing it all anymore, look out for the inflation, and inflation is what feeds cryptocurrencies. Catch you guys in the next show. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you guys very, very soon again. Bye-bye.